Hi, my name is Alex.
My name is Rocco.
This is the first episode of a weekly independent podcast where we're going to look at some campaigns on Indiegogo for the films in the trending section and give your opinion on them. And it's week 3 of July 2013. 14.
Yeah. So anyways, this is what we did was we put went to the film section of Indiegogo and we went use the Canada filter so that we can just find the feature films that are shooting here in Canada.
Right. So let's get started.
All right, the first film that we're going to look at is called The Bonesetter, and this campaign expires on July 30th. The blurb on the site for The Bonesetter says, "The Bonesetter is a story of a 19th century killer who has returned in modern times to finish his evil work. The Bonesetter is a horror movie to be directed by Brett Kelly, Canada's most prolific director of indie genre films like My Fair Zombie, Pray for the Beast, etc. This movie will be a genuinely scary Canadian horror film that can compete with similar movies on an international level. And it's telling the story in the right way has been a passion of Brett Kelly's for years, and you can help that happen."
Of course, this is just the advertising that's on the site. We're not actually saying that we agree with this kind of stuff. But Brett Kelly has been around for a while. He's done a bunch of short films. So he's done a bunch of cheesy kind of C-grade horror movies. The Bonesetter is actually a short film that he did a while back. He's actually got a sequel to it, also called The Return of the Bonesetter, and this is a remake of it. And there's really no info on the site. It's about a local legend, which is kind of cool. It takes place in rural Quebec. There's no telling whether or not the legend's actually real, if there's something he fabricated, like for the Blair Witch Project, for instance. But it looks like a good idea, except that the video that's posted on it is actually pretty horrible. It's like this cheesy, low-grade kind of thing where he's... it's basically a clip from the setup from the first movie, and it's not very convincing. I mean, it looks like the kind of thing that you would want to see just for the laughs, just because it's so bad it's good. But I don't know, it seems, from what I've seen so far from all his other movies, that they're all pretty much in this style.
I know, it seems to have like a good pace and a nice selection of shots and interesting camera work, in my opinion. It looks like somebody, you can tell that this director honed his skills, and he's made other films before.
He's got a ton of experience.
Yeah, I would disagree that it's so cheesy. Well, but experiences. To me, it looked good. I thought it was compared to a lot of the other stuff I saw, it looked entertaining. It looked thought out. And you could tell this director, honed his skills by making a few other films before this one. So, I mean, even though you thought it was bad, I thought actually it was watchable, and you could tell that he'd done stuff before. Now, on the negative side, though, he says, on the campaign, that this is a scene that sets up the actual movie, but the movie itself takes place all in the present. So on this thing, I thought that was kind of weird, because all these montages, and they're done well, but you can't see how the regular action and the dialogue is going to be handled, or especially in the present, and or where this movie's supposed to take mostly in the present, and you can't tell any of that stuff by watching the scenes.
As you said, this scene is supposed to be a setup for the movie, and it clearly says in the movie that the guy returns in the present after being defeated in the past, so it makes sense that the setup will show him being defeated in the past.
Yeah, but this campaign and the movie and everything talks about it, the majority of it taking place in the present, and the clip that he showed us is just a nice one, but it's just only takes place in the past. So for me, it doesn't give me enough of an idea of what it's going to look like, the actual stuff in this picture, and it's supposed to take place in the present. So it didn't tell me the information I thought I needed.
Either way, it wouldn't make sense for the movie to look exactly the same as it did when he first made it, because then there would be no point in him remaking it. So really there's no telling what it'll look like, but Brett Kelly does seem to have to be consistent in the quality of his work. So if you like cheesy C-grade horror movies, you're probably gonna like this. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, so next up we've got The Rainbow Kid.
Okay, so The Rainbow Kid is this coming of age story about a kid named Eugene who has Down syndrome. He's obsessed with rainbows, right? With mythology, with stories, with symbolism, everything about them. He's also he lives at home with a terminally ill mother. He gets bullied at work. There's this girl at school that doesn't like him and stuff like that. And then at some point he realizes that he and his mother are getting evicted, And he decides to go on an adventure to try to fix the problem by, of course, finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And then he gets into a bunch of crazy adventures and meets some larger-than-life characters, like we see here, an alcoholic dowser, a cross-dressing punk rocker, a special needs girl with a disturbing home life. And then as he's going through his adventure, he finds that his perception of reality is getting mixed in with like his fantasies about the mythology of rainbows, and then everything just starts to fall apart and turn into something much more fantastic. So
yeah. This is also an expansion on a short that the director did, and that's on the campaign too. So we do get a feel for the style of what he's going to do, and how it looks so far in his mind of what he did with the short.
Yeah. So the short film's already been posted to the campaign, and it's actually excellent. You can watch the whole thing at once, but there's none of this fantastical stuff that's being hinted at in the promo, and there's none of the other characters are in it. It's all nice and simple. So I'm not sure where he's going with the fantastic elements or what's going to happen after that, but it does look like it's got some potential. He's got some previous work that looks all right, and I mean, they've already got a cast, they've already got a story, they all seem fairly experienced, and it all seems like it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, and it's like he has a cause he's trying to do. He's trying to give more, show more diversity. So it's just he's trying to give this opportunity or use this opportunity through this type of crowdfunding to get more characters that have like a particular affliction, like Down syndrome or whatever. In this case, so he's trying to just take advantage of this forum to just shine a light on some people who haven't had it before as much, or give it some attention. And he's and other people are behind him in his cause too, because he did sign. He's got like at least 3 or 4 Canadian actors who agreed to do some bit parts in it. So I mean, other people, it's when you do have a cause, and other people do tend to sign up for it and help out.
Yeah, Julian Richings is in it. He was in the original. He's coming back for the full-length feature as well.
Yeah, Richard Campbell, I think, where he's like one of the other two. And Nicholas Campbell, sorry. It's Nicholas Campbell and Patrick McKenna, who's, I guess people would know him from the Red Green Show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, originally, but done a lot more since then. I mean, it's got good things for it. It's based on an award-winning short. It's got the involvement of actors. And on the plus side, but again, for me, he's asking for money and he wants to push his cause forward. But having to do it on the crowdfunding and asking for money and to do it on this type of thing, I say there's a reason why these films, they don't get made more often in Hollywood or by the big guys. And and it may not be the obvious reasons that everybody thinks, but there is a legitimate reason why these type of films don't get made outside of the.
Yeah, but this isn't Hollywood, therefore that point doesn't really matter.
No.
It doesn't come into play. What really matters is whether or not you're interested in watching a movie and whether or not you're willing to support the filmmaker. And since you have a sense of what the movie's going to be like just from watching the short film, you can make an opinion. You can basically make up your mind yourself just by looking at the campaign. So you should probably look it up and see what you think.
Yeah,
it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good, but I just find it maybe a little difficult for somebody. The main character is a person with Down syndrome, and the camera pretty much follows him throughout the whole bulk of the story. So I don't know if everybody's going to be able to handle that for for the full. I mean, as a short, it's fine. You get used to it, and I just don't know if, for a feature length, somebody's going to be able to watch somebody with Down syndrome with the speech impediment and speaking pattern. I don't know if that's how that'll play out. I mean, it's a good cause, and I hope it goes further. I mean, I'd like to see changes and I'd like to see things, but I don't know how it'll be received.
Well, as an audience, you know what you're getting into. This is the kind of movie I play into film festivals and stuff, so you know what you're going there. You're going there to see exactly that. So it's not like you have to sit through something that you have to endure the way this guy speaks or anything. You're coming there to see this guy's performance and to see this guy's story. Yeah. There's not going to be this thing where you're forced to watch a movie. The audience knows what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And they know what they want out of it. And I think this is something new, something interesting that a bunch of people will be interested in watching.
Okay.
So next up we have Salt Bullets, directed by Yannick Mathieu.
Yeah, Salt Bullets is an R-rated dramatic psychological thriller about Hank and Dave, two jobless half-brothers heading up north seeking promising work opportunities. They cross paths with a wealthy family on vacation, and having suffered from serious father issues, Hank is convinced he makes a better dad for this boy than his feeble stepfather, and thus begins this intense and terrifying ordeal with a lot of issues of social class and status.
Yeah. So right off the bat, the synopsis is already fairly confusing. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, especially that last sentence where it says, a terrifying ordeal where a man's expected social behavior as role model and father figure is confronted with his social class and status. It's very vague. I don't know what you think what that means, but
no, I don't know. It's just too confusing. I just concentrated on like thinking what they're doing as filmmakers and stuff. I know that this particular guy, it seems like he has an issue or like that he's trying to deal with.
Yeah.
And for me, it seems like it's the right type of subject matter and the right type of thing for him to do, like being the kind of director that he is. Doing a social issue or something more than an action adventure or something like that, like while he's growing. I mean, if you look at like some of the other stuff he's done,
like the documentaries.
Yeah, most of the stuff he's done, like you can see that like there was a couple guys that got together and they had like a philosophical type of like bond that made them create this like production company to handle these type of like films. And like for them, it was like the most important thing was dealing with like the taking the vision of like the screenwriter.
Yeah.
They wanted to get their purpose and then handling this film as well, is they want to try to get the writer's vision from script to screen.
Yeah.
I think that part is good.
Yeah, the director and the producer have got a bunch of experience too. They've done a ton of short films and like short documentaries from all over the world in a variety of languages too, and they're all very varied. So it's hard to pin down a specific kind of like style or look for their work because of the vast variety of it. But that's good. That means they have experience and know what they're doing. So there's some potential here. But because of how confusing this is, and they haven't given us any images, they haven't given us any video or any idea of what this is going to look like. So it's impossible to make a prediction of how good this will be. But
I mean, what they did have, what they showed was it looked like the director's reel or like examples of stuff that the director might have done. But for me, that like it's sort of like kind of like a dramatic and artful type of shorts.
Yeah.
So they were all like different type of features, and from short to short or feature to feature, things changed, and artists mature and directors like their style. And a lot of this stuff dates back to 2005, and it's a different format. Like an art film short is going to be different than like a narrative feature. So you've got two elements, and like I know that directors change and grow over the years, and there's no telling how this director's going to handle this this new material now. Like how will he, like this being a feature, based on the shorts, the short art styles. I can't make the connection of the two. I don't know how So I don't know. Like for me, that like he just shows past work from his show reel, and it goes back to 5 years ago. So this is like, instead of a short 5 years ago, it's a feature now. So it's interesting to see what he'll do with it.
Yeah. Oh, moving on.
So up next here, we're moving on to The Great Fear, which expires on August 17, and it's written by Ian Laird. The Great Fear is a mosaic of fear and love, and an exploration on the separation of these emotions in the natural balance of life. It's set in the American prairies of Montana. The Great Fear introduces us to a quiet farmer named Victor. He is forced to forfeit his cattle following a questionable inspection of this farm by a large agricultural corporation known as Vassal. Left with only his tractor at his disposal, he decides to rent out one of his homes to a tenant. The tenant turns out to be a young woman named Meryl, whom appears to be running away from something, as her Walden complex is all too obvious. As this aloof pair begins to open up to one another, something quietly discomforting
casts a shadow over the community. All of the locals begin to show flu-like symptoms, and Vassal begins to show a gradually increasing presence.
Yeah, so basically this kind of movie seems to be feeding into the whole GMO hysteria. And just like agricultural conspiracies and that kind of thing, just phobia of industry and the destruction of small town values in rural America.
It's a cause.
And of course there's hints of a love story in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, none of the footage actually shows any of the things to do with the woman. So I'm not sure what's going on. But everything that they show you has to do with this company, the Vassal company, coming in and just kind of slowly taking over the landscape, and it all seems very moody, very atmospheric, and it looks very promising. So the guy previously directed another movie called Pound of Pure, which was like a very low budget film, and it looks, when you compare the footage from the two, that his production values have gone up considerably. So he's got new equipment, he's got more experience, he knows what he's doing now. Both movies look pretty good. The acting in the trailer to Pound of Pure is a little dodgy. There are some things where it looks like he was going through some growing pains here. And here, I don't know, it's like sometimes you see something there. But for example, there's this, there are two clips that he uploaded as part of promotion. One of them is shot from the point of view of Vassal employees. And that one is a really good idea, but the editing's a little odd and the sound is horrible. So it looks like they need to just get their production values together, but it looks promising as a movie. It definitely looks very interesting.
Yeah, he said that he started out with this like building it up from like the resources he had available. And I said it's great to build a story around available resources and also around a famous quote. So he already had like first looked at what was around him and said, okay, I got this access to that. I'm going to shoot a film. Then he also combined that with a quote that he found that seemed to resonate with him. So he took the two elements that and he put them together in hopes that that's going to help it, like actually having. So so for me, there seems to be a good moral and a good issue raised about the GMOs and about a farmer's life, and so there's good issues raised, and it puts a woman and a man's face on this issue by doing this like love story, whatever, rather than just having like be a documentary or just anybody randomly talking about it or fighting the powers that be. He's made it into a story where a particular man or a particular woman, and together they're having these struggles, and so it's kind of personifying it or type of thing. So that it's like a man and a woman, a specific man and woman against the industry. But again, like you were talking about the dodgy footage and stuff like that, there's always a danger of putting a feature film together based on what you have available to you for free, what resources that you have at hand, because there's this issue of the pacing of the film. Because when you get all this stuff for free, you spend too much time maybe on this one shot, on this one area, or on any of the one things that you got access to. So you'll spend, I've got this, I got to show it. And then, you get into the initial
you're making
pacing.
assumptions about the way he shoots based on available resources, which doesn't really make any sense. There's no telling how good or how professional of a filmmaker he is until you've seen his work.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Pound of Pure yet, so I can't comment on how good of a storyteller filmmaker
No, but
he is.
in those
But
clips,
it does look pretty good.
Yeah, in those clips that he showed so far, it starts off with the person like at a cross, and I'm saying the pace seems to be slower.
Yes, it's slow paced, very atmospheric.
Yes, and
very dependent on cinematography.
right. And I'm just based on what I've seen so far, I think that maybe like some of the shots may be held too long because it's going from a person who's used to making shorts who now has to fill the whole length of a feature. And when you switch between shorts and features, you don't always have like the experience or the knowledge of how to adjust.
His
for that
last project
pacing.
was a feature.
I know the pond, but
And
it's
you
still.
can have slow pacing in a short movie anyway.
You can, but I still think there's a danger. When you get stuff for free, you really want to showcase it, and you could fall into the trap of spending too much time on anything just because it was free or just because you think it's cool or whatever. I mean, you really got to go back and grow and fine tune and hone your skills. You can't just just because it's free doesn't mean you have to show it or use it or stay on it. I mean, I think the story would dictate, and then you got to be mature enough to go where the story takes you and let that drive you forward. Was it the other? Yeah, and that's the other dangers too. When you go through something like that, you can be, especially when you pick a cause for your film, and something like this with the AGOs, or what kind of companies was it? AGOs?
No.
And
It's GMO history.
GMOs, the GMOs. There you go.
But Vassal's like an agricultural company.
Yeah, but anytime you do a film with the cause, there's also the danger of being too heavy-handed with it too. So you could spend too much time in over-dramatizing it, and because you're saying, well, I'm dramatizing this issue, so then you can show maybe too much bias or overdo it.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned buying into the hysteria. He's literally trying to put together a kind of thriller with some horror movie elements.
Yeah.
So that's it for this episode. We'll be back with you with another few movies later on. But yeah, so this was basically our first episode just to kind of figure out how to do this format. And if you have any comments or suggestions about what we could do next, about campaigns we should use, or about anything concerning the format or anything, just feel free to leave a comment. And like us and subscribe us if you like what you're watching, and feel free to stick around and see where this is going.
Yeah, this is a work in progress, and we're just basically starting out by trying to go through the Indiegogo, which is a pretty vast field of works on there to choose from. So right now we're starting by looking at what's trending in the film section, with the little skew towards feature films being done in Canada.
Yeah.
So we say if you stick with us week to week, we'll obviously get better as we go along and figure it out. And we appreciate you watching, and hopefully you'll come back and watch us as we get better.
Yeah, thank you.